Playmaker Fusion Summons. Hey everyone, Templar74 here with another Yu-Gi-Oh video, and today's Yu-Gi-Oh video is going to be my thoughts and impressions regarding the latest episode of Yu-Gi-Oh VRAINS, episode 54, and I gotta be honest with you guys, this episode, at the end of this episode, I found myself just mouth wide open, jaw almost hitting the floor, because just how this episode was pulled off. You know, I thought when Playmaker took down Revolver with Firewall Dragon, and then again with Transcode Talker was insane, this just put it up on a whole new level with how Playmaker takes down these bad guys, I gotta say. But before I ramble on about that too much longer, let's talk about the actual episode. So the episode begins with a brief recap from last week's episode, and we leave off during the duel from the last episode. Blood Shepherd is making his turn, and using his battle drone's consecutive attacks and effects, manages to knock Playmaker's life points almost down to nothing within one move, and tells Playmaker you have 2 more turns to survive, and then you're dead. So Playmaker does manage to save himself from this because he does use a trap card called Cure Conversion, which allows him to draw a monster and then he regains life points equal to its attack strength. And he draws Cyverse Wizard, which allows him to increase his life points by 1800 and add it to his hand. Playmaker then summons Cyverse Witch, and then ultimately Ritual summons Cyverse Magician within the same turn. And Playmaker actually manages to wipe Blood Shepherd's field clean, but Blood Shepherd replays his entire field, the same monsters and everything, using his trap card from the previous episode, Capture Drone card. But anyway, all the while, Blood Shepherd, what he's trying to do is he's trying to keep Playmaker's life points over 1,000 so he can't use Storm Access. So Blood Shepherd has studied Playmaker's deck and knows it all too well. And essentially, his skill, which is Storm Access, is the only thing that could possibly mess this up for him. So that's what he's trying to do. That's the whole focus of the duel, is try to keep Playmaker from using Storm Access. So Blood Shepherd skill, he activates this during the duel. It's called Dronecraft Force, causing Playmaker's Cyverse Magician to lose 1,000 attack points, and ultimately it's destroyed that same turn. And that's when Playmaker manages to do a 180 in this episode and actually uses a spell card called Excess Extra Linker. And before we actually see what this card does, we transition to Blood Shepherd because we get into this little tit for tat thing where I says I am Playmaker's ally. And this sets something up for Blood Shepherd, and we get a flashback as to why he hates AI and cannot trust them. And we actually learn it has to do with his mother. See, apparently something had happened to his father, so him and his mother were completely on their own, and he had actually just finished high school. He didn't go off to college. He's trying to provide for his mom, trying to be a good boy, and he actually takes his mom out to dinner one night for her birthday. And after they're done, they get into this taxi, which is AI. It's completely automated, no driver in it whatsoever. And his mother's actually reluctant to get into the car because she doesn't think it's safe to be riding in a car that's driven by an AI. But ultimately, he assures his mother that, you know, it's safe, it's fine. And as they're driving along, they come across an accident where this big rig tractor trailer had flipped over, and the car's trying to avoid the accident and reroute, but the AI freezes up and the car actually crashes. And what it does is it doesn't kill his mother, but it severely damages her spinal cord to the point where she's never going to be able to move again, never going to be able to wake up again. And we actually see Blood Shepherd with this big gash in his head. He's bleeding profusely from the head, from the arm. And when he's at the hospital with his mom, he actually learns that he's never going to be able to use his arm again. And so they give him a new arm that allows him to control AI, which is what we learn later on during this flashback. So yeah, Blood Shepherd, he just wants to destroy AIs because it's what killed his mother, and he uses this new special arm to do that. So that's kind of the backstory as to why Blood Shepherd hates AIs. And I mean, you can't really blame him. I mean, after all, AI, artificial intelligence, pretty much just killed him, or killed his mother and then killed him inside, of course. But anyway, the flashback is over. We get back to the duel, and we then see Playmaker bring out this spell card, XS Extra Linker, and then we get into the real crazy part, the final part of the duel. Playmaker uses the spell Dimensional Linker to banish Shooting Code Talker, destroying Capture Drone's lock on the field. So now Blood Shepherd is not in control at all, but he is not deterred. He actually uses another trap card called Drone Codone. And when it's played, it's basically the same effect. Playmaker can't attack, effects can't be used, etc., etc. But what it doesn't do is prevent Playmaker's life points from dropping to the threshold necessary to use Storm Access. And that's when things get really crazy here at the end. Playmaker actually wins the duel by fusion summoning with Clock Sparta, which is the new monster he got from the Data Storm, Clock Wyvern, and Shooting Code Talker. He manages to get these three monsters on the field and uses them to fusion summon Cyverse Clock Dragon with an attack strength of 2500. So before I talk about how Playmaker wipes the floor with Blood Shepherd and eliminates him, I just want to say this fusion summon is probably the best animated, best handled fusion summon I have ever seen in the history of Yu-Gi-Oh! And I've seen just about every episode of Yu-Gi-Oh! From the original Duel Monster days, even through the dark days of Zexal and Arc 5. I still have to admit, this was probably the best animated fusion summon scene I have ever seen out of a Yu-Gi-Oh! Franchise. But anyway, Fusion Summon looked incredible from Playmaker. He brings out this Cyverse Clock Dragon, and because it's a fusion monster, it's not affected by the Link Trap, which, of course, is what locked his field down in the first place, Drone Codone. So now this card has no effect. Blood Shepherd is helpless. There's nothing he can do, because at first he's not too worried about it, because Cyverse Clock Dragon and his monster, Battle Drone General, are at the same attack strength. So it'd be a virtual knockout. They both knock each other out, mutually assured destruction. But Playmaker actually uses Cyverse Clock Dragon's effect, which allows him, for every Link monster Link that was used to fusion summon Cyverse Clock Dragon, he can flip a card over from his deck, and by banishing it, it gains 1,000 attack points. So if you look at it, Shooting Code Talker had 3 links, Clock Sparta had 2 links. So he's able to flip 5 cards over and increases this thing's attack by 5,000 up to 7,500. And so Battle Drone General is doomed. It's cooked. It's destroyed at this point. And Blood Shepherd has no cards to stop this. And that's what ends up defeating him, as, of course, the Cyverse Clock Dragon blows him away. All the while we see Blood Shepherd disintegrating, he says, "I can't believe I lost to an ally of AI," and he is blown away. And that was pretty much the duel. So, yeah, and the duel was pretty much the episode, too. I mean, there wasn't really much after the duel except Playmaker ultimately taking the victory and moving forward on into the restricted area. So anyway, that was the duel. That was this episode. Like I said, at the end of the episode, my mouth was just agape between that fusion summon and the backstory for Blood Shepherd. I mean, I feel so bad for Blood Shepherd. And something else about Vrains. Why is it that the protagonists and the antagonists, no matter who they be, all have like these horrible, dark, tragic backstories for them? I mean, I can appreciate a good Yu-Gi-Oh series when it's written, but I think this is the darkest Yu-Gi-Oh has ever gotten, ever. Even back in the Duel Monster days where we were talking about the dark games and being banished to hell and all that stuff. I think this is even darker than that, in my opinion, and it's kind of refreshing to see after the light-humored Arc 5 series, but at the same time, you're like, really? They have to take it this far? I mean, it's awesome that they're doing it, but why? But anyway, I'm rambling, and that can be a rant for a future video. Anyway, Yu-Gi-Oh! VRAINS really off to a good start with this whole new arc here. Really enjoyed seeing Blood Shepherd thinking he had the upper hand and getting wiped clean. Blood Shepherd did have a horrible, tragic backstory, by the way. And not horrible in a bad way. Horrible as in tragic and sad. And I do feel bad for him. But anyway, glad Playmaker moved on. And Yeah. So anyway, overall, before risk of rambling any further and wasting any more of your guys' time, overall, I give this episode a 9 out of 10. It was a really fantastic episode, very well animated, and I really enjoyed this episode. And I enjoyed even more seeing the preview for next week's episode because we're going to get a Blue Angel Ghost Girl episode, and it appears that Soulburner is going to catch up to the girls here and pretty much be with them through this episode. So it's very interesting because I've actually seen several people already shipping Blue Angel and Soulburner together. So seeing an episode where these three are together without Playmaker, that's going to be interesting to watch these interactions. But anyway, I digress on that whole point. In the comments section down below, let me know what you guys thought of this week's episode. Did you love it? Did you hate it? What were your thoughts on Blood Shepherd's backstory? What were your thoughts on Playmaker's incredible fusion summon? What are your thoughts on Vrains thus far? What are your predictions for next episode with Ghost Girl and Blue Angel running around trying to find this new world with Soulburner? Just let me know what your guys' thoughts are about all this in the comment section down below, because as always, I enjoy hearing from you. All right, everyone, as always, Templar74 signing off. Have a great day, everybody, and I'll talk to you all next time. Goodbye, everybody.